The alien queen believed she married a simple man until he drew his sword queen. Zixira of the Crystalline Dominion had conquered 17 star systems with nothing more than the elegant sweep of her 4 arms and the calculated cruelty that had made her species the terror of 3 galactic quadrants. Her chitinous exoskeleton gleamed like polished obsidian in the throne room's bioluminescent light, and her compound eyes reflected the submissive faces of 1,000 alien diplomats who had bent the knee before her crystalline throne. She had never expected to fall in love with a human. Marcus Chun had arrived on her flagship as part of a trade delegation from Earth, backwater planet that had only recently achieved faster-than-light travel. While the other humans had trembled and stammered through their presentations about mineral rights and shipping lanes, Marcus had simply smiled. Not the terrified rictus of fear she was accustomed to, but something genuine and warm that made her secondary heart skip in their biomechanical rhythm. "Your Majesty," he had said, bowing with an awkward grace that somehow charmed her more than the practiced genuflections of seasoned courtiers, "I brought you something from my world." What he had presented was laughably simple, a small potted plant with delicate white flowers. "Cherry blossoms," he had explained. "They bloom for only a few weeks each year, then fall like snow. My grandmother always said they reminded her that beautiful things don't have to last forever to be worth treasuring." In 3 centuries of conquest, no one had ever given Queen Zixira something so humble, so purely beautiful without agenda or calculation. Her war-hardened heart, augmented with biotech implants designed to suppress empathy, had somehow found room for this strange, soft creature from Earth. Their courtship had been a scandal throughout the Dominion. Her generals whispered that she was compromised, that humans were no manipulators despite their apparent weakness. But Marcus had asked for nothing, no political favors, no protection for his homeworld, no advancement for his species. He simply tended his small garden in the ship's observation deck and listened when she spoke of the loneliness that came with absolute power. "On my world," he had told her one evening as they watched stars streak past the viewport, "we have a saying, the nail that sticks out gets hammered down. But I think sometimes you need someone willing to stick out, to be different." She had married him in a ceremony that united human and Zephyrian traditions, ignoring the outraged protests of her noble houses. Marcus had worn a simple black suit instead of the elaborate biomechanical armor expected of royal consorts. He had spoken his vows in halting Zephyrian, promising to stand beside her in wisdom and in folly, in victory and in necessary defeat. For 6 months, he had been exactly what he appeared, a gentle gardener philosopher who brought her tea made from earth herbs and listened to her concerns about governing a multi-species empire. He never asked about military matters, never pressed for details about the Dominion's expansion plans. He simply existed in her space, making it warmer somehow, which was why, when the rebellion came, she had ordered him to remain in their quarters for his own safety. The hegemony of free worlds had finally mounted a coordinated assault on her flagship. 3 dozen warships had emerged from quantum fold space, their weapons already charging. Her own fleet was scattered across the system, and her ship's defenses, while formidable, were designed for intimidation rather than prolonged battle. "My queen," her tactical officer chittered through his translator, "we are outnumbered 7-1, perhaps strategic withdrawal, retreat." The word tasted like poison in her mouth. The Crystalline Dominion did not retreat, but neither did it sacrifice its monarch foolishly. She was calculating jump coordinates when the first enemy boarding pod breached their hull dot. The fighting in the corridors was fierce but brief. Her biomechanical guards were individually superior to the enemy soldiers, but there were simply too many attack vectors. When the throne room doors finally buckled under sustained plasma fire, Queen Zixira stood alone before her crystalline seat of power, her ceremonial warblade humming with deadly energy. 30 armed rebels in combat armor poured through the breach, weapons trained on her. Their leader, a scarred Altarian with cybernetic implants covering half his face, stepped forward with the confidence of someone who believed victory was already assured. "Your reign ends today, tyrant," he growled through his translator. "The free worlds will find," came a quiet voice from the shadows behind the throne, "that today is not a good day to threaten my wife." Marcus stepped into the light, and Queen Zixira felt her world shift on its axis. Gone was the gentle scholar in his simple clothes. The man who emerged from the shadows wore matte black combat armor that seemed to absorb light itself. In his hand was a weapon she had never seen before, not a plasma rifle or energy blade, but something primitive and utterly alien, a sword. A simple, elegant piece of folded steel that gleamed with an inner light that had nothing to do with technology. "Human," the rebel leader laughed. "You should have stayed hidden. We have no quarrel with." He never finished the sentence. Marcus moved like liquid mercury, faster than her enhanced vision could properly track. The sword impossibly sharp, impossibly swift, carved through the air with a sound like singing wind. The first 3 rebels fell before their neural implants could even register the threat. The 4th managed to raise his plasma rifle before. The blade separated his head from his shoulders with surgical precision. It was not the brutal efficiency that stunned Queen Zixira into silence. She had seen efficient killing before, had performed it herself on countless occasions. What froze her secondary hearts was the sheer artistry of it. Marcus moved through the armed rebels like a dancer performing a routine choreographed in violence and death. Every step was precise, every cut deliberate. He wasted no motion, showed no hesitation. When the last rebel fell, Marcus stood amidst the carnage without a single drop of alien blood on his black armor. He turned to face his wife, and for the first time since she had known him, his eyes held no warmth. They were the eyes of a predator, cold, calculating, utterly without mercy. "Marcus," she whispered, her voice barely audible through her translator. "What are you?" He smiled then, and it was the same gentle expression that had first captured her attention. But now she could see what lay beneath it, something ancient and patient and utterly, terrifyingly human. "I'm exactly what I told you I was," he said, cleaning his blade with practiced efficiency before sheathing it at his side. "Someone willing to stick out, to be different." He stepped closer, and she found herself fighting the urge to retreat. "Did you really think Earth would send a simple gardener to negotiate with the most dangerous predator in known space?" The implications crashed over her like a tidal wave. Earth primitive, backwater Earth had not sent a delegation of trembling diplomats. They had sent an assassin. A weapon disguised as a gift, wrapped in cherry blossoms and gentle words. "You could have killed me at any time," she breathed. "Yes," he agreed simply. "But then I got to know you. The real you, not the tyrant everyone fears. And I realized that sometimes the most dangerous thing you can do to a weapon." He reached out, gently touching her chitinous face with fingers that had just carved through 30 armed soldiers. Is give it something worth protecting instead of destroying. Queen Zixira stared into the eyes of the man she had married, the gentle gardener who had brought her cherry blossoms and tea, who was also apparently one of the most lethal creatures she had ever encountered. She thought of Earth, that small, blue world she had dismissed as insignificant, and wondered what other surprises humanity had waiting in their genetic memory. "The rebellion?" she asked. "We'll find the remaining ships have suffered unfortunate navigation errors," Marcus replied. "My people have been tracking this operation for months. By now, the free world's fleet is discovering that humans can be very helpful, and very thorough." She laughed then, a sound like crystal chimes in a hurricane. "The most feared predator in 3 galactic quadrants had been outmaneuvered by a species that hadn't even known about faster-than-light travel a generation ago." "So," she said, settling back onto her throne with Marcus at her side, "what else haven't you told me about humanity?" His smile was gentle again, but now she could see the steel beneath it. "We have a saying on Earth, speak softly and carry a big stick, but we've always preferred our sticks to be very, very sharp. Outside the throne room, the stars continued their ancient dance. Indifferent to the fact that the balance of galactic power had just shifted in favor of a species that disguised their warriors as gardeners and wrapped their threats in gifts of flowering trees.